Is here, ladies and gentlemen. Very excited. Brand new book out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. And now we find out who Herman Cain is in this book.
Right. This is Herman Cain. What a unique title, right?
So it's got to be about you, and we're going to talk about your book in a couple of minutes. But
Great.
When you were in the green room, I gave you the news that you hadn't heard yet. There's a brand new Washington Post ABC poll out that shows, look at this, you're now in second place.
Wow.
Rick Perry has ties you at 16%, Mitt Romney at 25. Perry's lost about half of his support, and it looks like, sir, it's gone to you.
Well, I believe that is the case, and that substantiates what happened in Florida, what happened last weekend with a couple of straw polls. The National Federation of Republican Women won that straw poll, and these are people who are very informed. So we hadn't seen that yet, but that is great news that says that the flavor of the week might have some substance. Black walnut isn't a flavor of the week.
Well, it also says to those naysayers who
Yes.
say, oh, people should just get out of the race early on because they're never going to make a comeback. And then they point to your story now and say, well, maybe that's not the case. I want to give you a chance to comment, though, on the other two top men in the race right now, Governor Perry and Governor Romney. In the past, you have said that Governor Perry was insensitive? Is that what you said?
It was relative to something that came out yesterday relative to a property that he and his family either leased or owned, and they had a very derogatory word on a rock. I don't know the whole story, all the details. I said the mere fact that it was there, whoever was responsible was insensitive. That was the statement. But I also said, I in no way believe that that represents how Governor Perry feels about black people in this country.
But you just saw the governor come onto the scene recently, and he was #1. He's been attacked from every angle. He's been on the defensive from immigration, Social Security, and now this rock outside a hunting club.
Right.
Is he blowing it in the debates, or are we just learning more about his policies?
I think it's a little bit of both, because the debates are not as easy as some people might think. And I think that he probably underestimated just how prepared you needed to be for those debates. Remember, you only have a minute to answer the question, and sometimes you got to really think very quickly. And so I think that he was not prepared for that format. And so those of us who've been participating in all of the debates from the beginning, I've been in all of them from the beginning, you do learn to be much more responsive and quick relative to some of the questions.
Sure. Somebody who clearly has done very well in the debates as well is still the front runner, according to a lot of the national polls. It's Mitt Romney.
That's right.
Your comments on how he's running his race?
He's running his race top down. He's got a lot of money. I'm running my race bottom up. We don't have as much money. For example, in Florida, I know that Mitt, and as well as Governor Perry, they spent some money to try to help influence the outcome of that straw poll in Florida. Well,
that happens every time.
It happens every time. But what do? We rented a bus, traveled around the state of Florida, talked to people, shared my message of solutions, common sense solutions, and I think that's what's resonated with people, which is why we were able to win it.
I know you're very positive about Mitt Romney. You've had much more positive than negative things to say about him. But one thing you point out in your book is that when it comes to health care, when you stared down President Clinton in 1994 at a town hall, you said that after the Hillary Care went by the boards, Romney Care took over.
Yes.
Is it tough for you personally to maybe get behind somebody or get on the same page as somebody if they do something so opposed to what you believe?
Well, it depends upon what they say after the fact. Now, Governor Romney has been saying he would want to repeal Obamacare. That's a great statement, but he's not going to be able to shake that ankle bracelet, that I call it, of Romney Care. It's going to continue to haunt him. I really respect Governor Romney because of his business experience, and I happen to believe that he does have some great leadership abilities. But the distinction that I have tried to make between Governor Romney wanting to stake out the position of being the businessman in the race versus me, his business experience has been Wall Street. Mine has been Main Street. I've actually run individual units. I've actually made the pizzas. I've actually cooked the burgers. I've actually cleaned the toilets. I've actually run a bunch of small businesses. I'm over my experience is more Main Street versus Wall Street. So I still have a lot of respect for him. We're just different in that regard.
So what may upend everything again is that Governor Chris Christie of New Jersey may decide in the next couple of days to get into the race. What would happen then, and what do you think about him?
Well, I have a lot of respect for Governor Christie. I have not met him. I don't know him. Just like when Governor Perry came in, it would be a big splash, you know, with the establishment media. Then we'll see what happens, because I don't believe a lot of people, especially conservatives, know a lot about his position on a lot of these issues.
Sure.
That's going to be the determining factor. So he'll get a lot of attention, suck up a lot of the oxygen for a while, and at the same time, you'll still see black walnut moving up the charts.
Right. You love your ice cream. It's incredible.
See, I can eat black walnut all the time. It's not a flavor of the week.
I mean, is that something you put on a cone, or would it crush the cone? It sounds so heavy.
It's not that heavy.
It isn't.
You can eat it on the cone or in a cup.
Did you serve that to Donald Trump yesterday?
No, we didn't get a chance to eat
well,
ice
what
cream
happened in the
yesterday.
meeting?
The meeting was great. We hit it off right away. And I think it's because we are both businessmen. We both know how to look at the big picture as well as the big problem that we face. So we talked a lot about a lot of the big issues that we face. And I was able to give him firsthand some of my views on what I would do as president, especially relative to the economy and relative to China. And so we had a very good conversation.
If success leaves clues, you remember what Donald Trump did for 6 weeks. He was #1 on the polls, took everybody by storm, sucking all the oxygen out of the room. What did he do that maybe you could learn from?
He capitalized on the attention. And every time that he was able to get, in front of a camera or do an interview, he talked about something specific. Sure. This is what I have done in my entire campaign. I don't just talk about generic solutions to our problems. I talk about, here's a specific proposal that I'm putting on the table. I can't leave this segment without mentioning 999, which is the plan in order to boost this economy, because that's a specific recommendation and it's resonating with people.
It's all part of the Cain Doctrine, which is one of the chapters in your book. We're going to talk about that in a couple of minutes. But before we get to that commercial timeout, I want you to watch. Here's George Lopez, the very funny comedian.
Right.
He was on this program talking about all the candidates, and your name came up. And he described you this way.
He is very concerned, absolutely. So I think he will do well. Barack Obama, you know how extreme he is. Herman Cain tonight, and Herman Cain, it's funny, the Republicans do know that he's darker than Barack Obama. Maybe on the, but whiter on the inside.
All right, that's what he said. We want to get your response in 2 minutes, all right?
All right.
Also, we're going to talk about his brand new book. This is Herman Cain. Right.
Absolutely. So I think he will do well. Barack Obama, you know how extreme he is. Herman Cain tonight, and Herman Cain, it's funny, the Republicans do know that he's darker than Barack Obama. Maybe on the, but whiter on the inside.
Okay, so that was George Lopez on the curvy couch yesterday, and now presidential candidate Herman Cain responds to George Lopez.
Well, George was half right. I am darker than President Obama, but on the inside, I'm red, white, and blue. It's called patriotism. And I think the Republicans and the conservatives see that, which is why I'm getting so much support and so much traction.
What I get is doing the radio show, as you know, because you're a talk show host, you get calls from everywhere, and a lot of them surprise you. I get a lot, well, did you know Herman Cain was on the board of Nabisco? Do you know that he was a vice president here? And so that's what this book really answers a lot of these questions, which is aptly named, This is Herman Cain. It ends with, my journey to the White House, because that's where you hope this ends.
Exactly.
But you...
Making a dream come true, folks. That's what Herman Cain wants.
In your book, I was curious to see if you encountered racism, and you did.
Yes.
White and black water fountains. White and black, whites stay in the front of the bus, blacks go in the back of the bus. You cannot get your hair cut. You had to learn to cut your own hair.
Yes.
You had to leave the town to go do that. Why aren't you a bitter Herman Cain looking for revenge?
Because I'm not angry with America, because America has something that a lot of other countries don't have, the ability to change. That's the greatness of this country. We have always had struggles throughout our short 235-year history. Why be bitter? Why not embrace the change, especially since it's positive? So I don't have a negative attitude about this country because of that.
And one of the great things about the book, and the book is terrific.
Thank you.
Because it tells your story, is, a lot of people just think, oh, he's that guy who ran that pizza place.
Right.
No, in the very beginning, you talk about, I was not born po, you say.
I started out po, which is one level below poor. We had to work up to poor. But the thing about it, we didn't know we were poor because my parents embraced the opportunity to work for what it was that they wanted to achieve. My mother was a maid. My dad was a barber, a janitor, and a chauffeur, because his philosophy was, I'll work 3 jobs until I can live off of 2. I'll work 2 until I can make it off 1. And at the same time, he was using one of those checks to save for his American dream, which was to buy a whole house. We learned those kind of values from our parents.
And a Cadillac.
That's right. He wanted that Cadillac. He wanted that Cadillac. He got to have a dream, and he got that Cadillac.
Now, the interesting thing is, because you are African-American and conservative, you get a lot of questions about whether or not people would vote for you, whether or not black people would vote for you. And last week you said something about that you believed 1/3 of all African-Americans were brainwashed. So explain that further, and what are you going to do to get African-Americans potentially to vote for you?
First of all, I make the statement that too many black Americans are brainwashed. They are brainwashed into not even considering someone who has a conservative label or a Republican label. I call that brain. They don't even want to hear the solution that you put on the table. I've had some black people approach me in the airport, and I would want to pull out my 999 plan and give them a copy. Nope, can't take it because I don't agree with your politics. Right. This isn't politics, it's a solution. But I also said the good news is many black Americans are thinking for themselves. These are the ones that come up to me at the airport when I'm traveling. They want to take pictures, they want autographs. So I do see it changing. And the specific statement that I said is that I believe that as the Republican nominee that I will get a minimum of 1/3 of the black vote, not because I'm black, but because of the solutions I'm putting on the table, and the people who are thinking for themselves and considering these solutions. It transcends whatever ethnic group that you might be a part of.
And the thing that everyone should keep in mind, especially Mitt Romney, Rick Perry, and maybe Governor Christie, is that your lucky number is 45.
That's
the next president will be the 45th president of the United States.
President. That's right.
You read a whole chapter about that.
You did read the book. I was born in 1945. I would be the 45th president. And my wife and I will be celebrating our 45th wedding anniversary. How about them apples?
So his book comes out today. He's going to be traveling the country. If you'd like to know where the book tour is going, go to his website. ThisIsHermanCain.com.
Yes, ThisIsHermanCain.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
It's a pleasure. Enjoyed it.
Congratulations on the book.
Thank you very much.
And your surge.
Yes.